There's something sacred about the sound of the ocean at night. As I pulled into the gravel driveway of the beach house, the waves greeted me like an old friend, constant, steady, and comforting. The salt in the air carried 100 memories from summers past. Sunburned cheeks, sand between my toes, and the scent of Grandma's lemon cake cooling on the kitchen counter. I hadn't been here in nearly a year, but nothing about it felt unfamiliar. The house, perched right on the edge of the coast, was more than just wood and paint. It was home. Or at least it used to be. I grabbed my overnight bag from the back seat, the trunk closing with a familiar thud, and made my way up the front steps. The wooden boards creaked under my feet like they always did. I smiled at the chipped blue paint on the porch railings. My grandfather had sworn he'd repaint them every summer, and yet they remained perfectly imperfect. I didn't expect anyone to be there. I'd emailed Julia a few weeks back, just a courtesy, really. I didn't need her permission to come here. After all, the house had been left to me. Not her, not both of us, me. My grandparents' will had been clear. They left the house to the granddaughter, who had been there every summer to help care for them. The one who stayed up late playing cards with Grandpa when he couldn't sleep. The one who cleaned out gutters, ran errands, and scrubbed the kitchen floor while Julia was too busy, mooning in Bali or flying off to girls' trips in Napa. Still, I tried to be gracious, tried to keep the peace because she was my sister, because we were family. But the second I stepped into the house, that illusion shattered. "What the hell are you doing here?" Daniel's voice hit me like a slap. I blinked, hand still on the doorknob. The door was unlocked, and I'd walked in like I always had, like someone who belonged. He came stomping down the hallway shirtless, wearing swim trunks and holding a half-empty beer bottle. He looked annoyed, not surprised, not apologetic, just pissed. I came for the weekend, I said, confused. "I emailed Julia, didn't she tell you?" He scoffed, brushing past me like I was furniture. "We've been here since Monday. This is our weekend. You can't just show up unannounced." I took a step inside, slowly. "I didn't show up unannounced. This is my house." He laughed then, an ugly, sarcastic sound. "You're kidding, right?" That's when I saw her. Julia. She was lounging on the back deck, wrapped in a white robe, sipping from a wine glass like she was the queen of the coast. Her eyes met mine through the sliding glass door, but she didn't move, she didn't wave, she didn't even smile. She just gave a tired sigh and said, loud enough for me to hear, "Can we not do this right now? It's been a long day." "A long day?" "For her. I sent you a message," I said again, walking further into the living room. "I told you I'd be coming down this weekend." Daniel turned on me like I'd insulted him. "Well, plans changed. We're here now. You should have checked first." I could feel the heat rising in my chest. "I don't need to check with anyone. This is my home. Not tonight, it's not," he snapped. "We've got friends coming over. We planned a party. You showing up like this is just weird. Weird." That word stuck with me. Not unexpected, not surprising, just weird, like I was a stranger in my own life. Julia finally stood and walked inside, robe trailing behind her like a cape. "Can't you come back another weekend? It's not a big deal." I stared at her, mouth dry. "Why didn't you tell me you'd be here?" She rolled her eyes. "I thought you weren't coming. You always say you might visit, and then you don't. You've been so busy lately." My throat clenched. "So because I've been busy, that means you get to treat my house like it's yours." Daniel stepped between us. "You know what? You're being dramatic. Maybe you should just head back, clear your head. It's obviously not a good time." I stared at him, then at her. I waited for her to say something, to defend me, to remember that this place was filled with our grandparents' memories. That this was the place where we scattered Grandma's ashes off the dock. That this wasn't just some beach rental. But Julia looked away, and that's when I knew. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was betrayal. I didn't say another word. I turned around, walked back out onto the porch and down the stairs. My heart pounded, and not from rage, but from heartbreak. My own sister had watched her husband speak to me like I was trash, and she had let him. I got in my car, slammed the door, and backed out of the driveway. I didn't cry, not yet. I didn't scream or hit the steering wheel or even look back at the house, but I made myself a silent promise as I drove away. This isn't over. And by the time the sun set, they'd learn exactly whose house it was. I drove aimlessly for a while after leaving the house, the tires humming along the coastal road as the sky deepened into orange and mauve. The sun was sinking slowly behind the water, casting shadows across the jagged rocks below. I should have pulled over to enjoy the view. It was the kind of moment my grandmother would have made us stop for, just to take it in, to breathe, to remember that some things in life still made sense. But I couldn't breathe, not properly. The betrayal clung to my chest like wet wool, heavy, suffocating, bitter. It wasn't just about today. It wasn't just about Daniel shouting or Julia looking right through me. It was about everything. We weren't always like this. Growing up, Julia was the star of the family, golden-haired, camera ready, always smiling for the relatives and charming the neighbors. She was the girl who danced ballet in recitals and wore matching bows with her dresses. I was the quiet one, mud on my knees, hair unbrushed, always climbing trees or building something in the garage with Grandpa. She got attention, I got responsibilities, but I didn't resent her, not at first. Things changed when Mom got sick. I was 17, and Julia had just started college 3 states away. I stayed. I dropped out of my summer internship to help take care of Mom, and when Grandma started declining too, I never left. Julia visited once, maybe twice that year. I'm not good with that stuff, she had said when I asked her to come more. Hospitals stress me out, so I cleaned bedpans, I fed soup, I held our mother's hand while she forgot my name. And when it was over, when both our parents were gone within 2 years, it was me who stayed behind to keep Grandma and Grandpa company in the house by the sea. They never asked me to, but they didn't have to. It felt like the right thing to do. Julia would pop in occasionally, usually when her relationship was falling apart, or when she needed to reconnect with her roots, whatever that meant. She'd spend a weekend lounging in the sun, post some pictures on Instagram with captions like "family time at the old beach house, 2 hearts," and then leave again. Always with a suitcase of clean laundry I had washed for her. Always without a thank you. I should have said no. I should have drawn boundaries, but I didn't. Because despite everything, I still hoped that one day she'd look at me and remember the nights we stayed up late under the covers reading books. That she'd remember how we used to sneak out to the beach after dark and build sandcastles by moonlight. That she'd be my sister again. But people don't just change back, especially not when entitlement has replaced love. The motel I pulled into was faded and boxy, the kind that hadn't been renovated since the 90s. A rusted bell clanged as I stepped into the front office. The woman at the desk gave me a tired smile, slid a key across the counter, and didn't ask any questions. Room 7 smelled like cheap pine cleaner and old smoke. The mattress creaked when I sat down. I stared at the ceiling, trying to make sense of everything. Why this weekend? Why not tell me? But I already knew. Julia had probably never even read my email. Or maybe she had, and just didn't care. Maybe she thought the beach house should have been hers all along. It wouldn't be the first time, 3 years earlier, we sat across from each other in the lawyer's office, the ink still fresh on the will. I hadn't known what to expect when Grandpa passed. I assumed things would be split evenly, or that maybe they'd leave the house to both of us jointly. But the will had been specific. To my granddaughter, the one who stayed by our side, we leave our beloved beach house. May it always bring her the peace she gave us. Julia's mouth had dropped open. She gets the whole house, she said, eyes flicking from the paper to the lawyer to me. That's not fair. I'm the older sister. The lawyer had calmly explained that age wasn't a factor in a will. Julia didn't speak to me for 2 months after that. Eventually, she came around, or pretended to. She called one day and asked if she and Daniel could use the house for a few days. Just a little getaway, she said. You won't even know we were there. I had said yes, and then again. And again, because even when people hurt you, it's hard to stop hoping they'll eventually see you. But tonight, Daniel's words kept echoing in my head like crashing waves. You need to leave. Who says that to someone in their own home? Worse, who lets someone say that to their sister and says nothing? I pressed the heels of my hands into my eyes, willing the memory to disappear, but it stayed, bright and raw. I wasn't angry at Daniel, not really. He was always arrogant, always smug. He looked at me like I was a mosquito buzzing in his wine glass. But Julia, her silence hurt more than anything. She knew what that house meant to me. She knew, and still, she'd let him take it over like some heirloom property they'd found online. I lay back on the bed, the thin blanket pulled up to my chest, the sound of the old AC unit rattling in the window. I stared into the dark, my heart burning with all the things I couldn't say to her. I remembered Grandpa's voice one summer when I was 14, helping him sand the dock. He'd said, "Don't let anyone make you small in a place you built with love." I hadn't understood it then. But I did now. I sat up and grabbed my phone. There was only one person who could fix this now. I dialed the number. "Mr. Leary, it's me. Something's happened at the beach house." I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Even with the motel room dark and quiet. The echo of Daniel's voice and the look in Julia's eyes kept looping in my head like a nightmare on repeat. I'd never felt so unwelcome in a place that was meant to be my sanctuary. But what stung more than anything was this sinking realization. They thought I'd do nothing. They thought I'd just disappear. The rage didn't come all at once. It trickled in slowly, drop by drop, building with every minute that passed. Until it wasn't sadness anymore. It wasn't confusion. It was fire, and I was done being quiet. That morning I returned. Not inside, not yet. I parked just up the road from the house, behind a cluster of trees near the dunes, and walked the rest of the way barefoot, toes pressing into the cool sand. The beach was still, the wind gentle, the waves lapping against the shore like nothing was wrong. But everything was wrong. From behind the garden wall, I could see the deck. Julia was sitting in one of the loungers in a white sun hat, scrolling through her phone, a mimosa in hand. Daniel stood near the grill, laughing with 2 of his friends.